Welcome to QuickBites, public speaking tips and techniques you can digest in 5 minutes or less. Here's your host, Peter George.
It's simple. The more you speak, the more you'll speak. And a way to speak more is to be a guest on podcasts. You might be thinking, that's a fantastic idea. But before you start lining up possible shows that you can be on, please realize there's more to appearing on a podcast than showing up and answering questions. To help with this, here are several things you want to do. 1, preparation. Be sure to prepare for each episode. This includes completing and submitting the pre-show questionnaire that the host might have for you. This questionnaire not only gives the information they need to prepare for the show, but it also helps you think through what you're going to say. Another thing you want to do when prepping is listen to at least 2 full episodes of their podcast. This gives you an idea of the feel of the episodes. For instance, if the host is upbeat, you want to be upbeat. If the host is more laid back, sounding something like an NPR episode, then you want to be a little more laid back too. Another thing you want to do when you're listening to the podcast episodes is look for any consistent segments, such as the host saying at the very beginning, "Tell us about yourself." Or at the end, when the host asks, "Where can my listeners connect with you?" Be sure you have this information ready to go. Number 2, don't leave things to memory. Know the stories you might want to tell to make a point and have lists for points that you want to make. Now, you might be able to do these off the top of your head. I know I can, but I also know that quite often when my mind is going a mile a minute, I forget something I want to include. So to combat this, on my studio walls, I have at least 1 story for each topic I talk about. Just the bullets to remind me of those stories. I have bullets with the answers to the most commonly asked questions that I get. For instance, a host might ask me, "What are the 3 most important things someone who's nervous about public speaking should remember?" Or, "What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on stage?" I actually have 2 answers for that last question. 1 rated PG and 1 rated R. Truthfully, the one that's rated R is my favorite, but it's not appropriate for all podcasts. I also include on the notes on my wall the answers to the questions hosts ask me near the end. For instance, what's 1 final tip you can offer my listeners? You want to have this one too, and don't let it simply be another tip. You want it to be a powerful one. Number 3, have a good audio video setup. Quality matters, especially the audio. So don't rely on your computer's mic. It's not very good at all. If you're going to do this a lot, you want to invest in a decent mic, and you can get one for about $100. As for the video, if your laptop or your desktop has a great high-resolution camera, that might be okay. If not, buy an external camera. Remember, this is important for your reputation, the host's reputation, and the listener's experience. Number 4, use the host's name frequently, but don't overdo it. Include it as if you're speaking to a close friend. It helps the conversation sound more realistic, as if the listeners are listening to 2 friends talk. Number 5, if the host asks, "Where can my listeners connect with you?" have 1 specific call to action. Don't say, "Well, they can get my book here, and they can go to my website here, and they can go to my LinkedIn profile there." Have 1, the one that's most strategically important. So there you have it. Several ideas that'll help you be a more effective podcast guest. Remember that your number 1 job as a guest is to provide your host listeners with an enjoyable, beneficial experience. Do that, and you'll have more and more hosts contacting you to be on their shows too. Oh, and 1 more thing. If you want to be a frequent guest on relevant shows, try Podmatch. It's awesome. I'll have a link to it in the show notes.
Thank you for devouring another episode of QuickBites. Tune in Monday when you'll hear another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George, and again Thursday for your next episode of QuickBites. Until then, remember, when it comes to speaking in public, you've got this.